Field report dated 13th of October was intercepted by Division 0 Clerical Agent Stovall. 2 enemy machine gun emplacements were observed to cease fire at 1930 hours during an active engagement. Allied troops advanced, finding the weapons unmanned but with signs of a lethal detonation of explosives. No such explosions were detected from observing troops at the time, and no enemy forces were found behind the machine gun positions. Clerical Agent Stovall provided analysis of the site and found that enemy forces had been digging trenches near the vicinity of the Belfort catacombs. Our contact at Bletchley Park provided decrypted messages from Axis communiques containing the words Kindergeist. Fireteam 0 is to be deployed immediately to Belfort catacombs to assess and eliminate any threats. The presence of an active and aggressive artifact is strongly suspected.
Hello everyone and welcome to the One Stop Co-op Shop. This is Colin and today we are going to start a playthrough of Fireteam 0. Now this is a game that I've had for a long time. I really enjoyed it. Then when we moved I put it in storage and 100% forgot about it. And so then all of a sudden when I'm finally cleaning up the last few boxes I found this game and I forgot I had gotten it painted. Look at this, it's painted. Not the whole game, just the 3 scenarios for Follow the Moon. So what you just heard was the operation briefing for Follow the Moon. It is a 3-act scenario set, so I thought we should do that because, first of all, I want to show off the paint because I think that the painting looks great. But second of all, because I really enjoy this game, and I do feel like it's one of those games that kind of got missed. It's easy to overlook it because some people don't like how the game plays, and so that's why I want to show you guys, see if you like it, and we can do 3 missions, and you can see how the game progresses, because I think that's the other piece that it's hard to tell. A lot of what I see out there is just the first mission, and yeah, this first mission is going to be great, and this mission will be different than the first mission that most people do, which is from the actual the first one's called the Typhoon's Children. So I'm doing the 3rd mission set within the core box. So we're going to go ahead and do our setup quick here. Shouldn't take too long. This game is quick to set up, and then we'll jump into the playthrough. The first thing to do is to pick out your characters. Now the base game comes with 2 different leaders and 1 of each other type. I am using the base game for a lot of the components, but you'll see that for discovery cards, and I'm going to include gear, that's from the African expansion, just to spice it up a little bit, because I like that. And you're also going to see that upgrade cards are going to come from everything that was included in the Kickstarter. Our first 2 characters we have here is Frank, or Twopenny. He is our marksman class. And then we have over here Moxie, or Maxine. She will be our leader class. Her miniature will look like this, and Twopenny's miniature will look like this. Each of them will have a 16-card deck, and you'll want to grab those. They will have numbers. They'll say L06. That means it's the leader's number 6 card. You'll just want to find L01 to L16. Depending upon which mission you're playing, you'll start with 1, 2, or 3 focus cards. Think of focus cards as special abilities for your character. I am going to start, since I'm starting with mission 1 of the Follow the Moon operation, I get to choose 1 focus card for each player. So there are a total, with all the expansions and the Kickstarters and everything, I think there's 12 different ones you can choose from. I'm going to choose the sniper for our marksman. It says when you perform a bullet attack, the attack range of the cards you play are increased to a minimum of 2. Makes them be able to attack a little bit longer range. I really like that. I had my leader one incorrectly placed on top. This is the one that I want to use for my leader. It's called Overwatch. It says once per round, you may perform an attack action against a monster as a reaction when it moves into your location. So normally all the heroes will go and then the enemies will go. If the enemies move into her location, she can actually attack them at that point instead of having to attack them during the hero phase, because she might not be able to reach them. Our combat specialist, and personally my favorite character, is Rat here. I love his mini, and I love his ability, his focus ability that you'll see in a second. So that's what he looks like. He'll be our close combat expert. And then we have Sonny, or Don, and he's my second favorite, the demolition expert. Okay, he's all about throwing bombs, and those are so fun because unlike all the other attack types, when you throw bombs, you do damage to everyone in that location. You can hurt allies, but you can also blow up a ton of enemies. They also each have their own 16-card deck, so you'll grab those out, making sure to look for the D01 through D16. For Sonny, we're going to grab the pitching arm focus card. It says that when you perform a bomb attack, the attack range of that card you play is increased by 1. Once again, great to be able to have that range. I really like that range. Then for Rat, we have close combat and double time. And it says, as an action, you may increase your speed by 2 for that turn. If you do so, you may not take specialists with you when you move. So the great thing about this is normally you can only move 2 spaces. This allows him to move 4 spaces, but he can't take specialists with, which I'll show you that now. We have 2 specialists that will go along with us. We have Patrick, or Cake, and we have Henry, or the Professor. So each of these, think of these people as scientists. They're individuals who cannot combat. They don't have their own turns. They simply follow with us. And we have to move with them and keep them safe. They'll never get attacked by enemies. The only thing you need to know is you can never leave them alone in their own area. They always have to follow someone. And if ever someone gets knocked down while this person is in their space and there's no other hero there, we have to push up the threat track, which I'll show you in a second. So you might think it's kind of a bummer we have to shuttle these guys around, but they can really help us. Patrick here, or Patty for short, he lets anyone within range 1. So range 1 is your location or an adjacent location. You can do a search as a free action. This is great because during your turns, you only get one action. You can move and do 1 action. So getting that free action is absolutely wonderful. Henry over here, if you're within range 1, he'll let you re-roll one of your combat dice. So if you miss, you can re-roll or something like that. So he is also super helpful to make sure that we actually defeat those enemies. Something that came in the European cycle expansion are specialist cards. These are additional abilities for those specialists. However, they usually have a negative that's associated with it. We might have to push up the threat track to be able to then get an additional benefit. What we get to do is draw 2 cards and pick 1. So let's go ahead and start with what we call our Psychic Specialist. We also have a Lore Specialist. Psychic is Patrick, so let's look at 2 of these and we can pick one. Okay, so we have either Induced Rage. You may advance the threat track and spend a token, and we can place a total of 3 tokens on here, before a minion or elite attacks to make it target another monster if possible. Kind of cool, so you can actually have them attack another enemy instead of your own team. We also have Self-Sufficient. You do not have to advance the threat track due to the last hero guarding the Psychic Specialist being knocked down. Ooh, okay, let's do Self-Sufficient, just in case. This is great, but I don't think we're going to need it right now. Let's go ahead and grab Self-Sufficient for Patrick. So he's going to be fully self-sufficient for this scenario. Let's see, for Henry, we either have Invocation of Unmaking, wow, what a name, or Self-Sufficient. All right, so we know what this is. This one says, you may advance the threat track and spend a token before you perform an attack to reduce the resistance of all monsters in the target's location to that attack to 0. Ooh. Well, right now we're only going against the minions, Bone Fetches. I don't think I really need that. I'm going to do Self-Sufficient. They'll both have the Self-Sufficient ability, nice and simple. It also makes it easier for me when I'm playing 4 characters. Next, you want to go ahead and grab your Lucky Coin. So this Lucky Coin is how you lose the game. The first time a hero is knocked down, we'll flip it to its tail side. Then, if another hero is knocked down while the coin is on the tail side, we immediately lose the game. There are certain ways to flip that coin, completing objectives. Sometimes there's recon events that will do that. But in general, if it's flipped on its tail side, you have to be very, very careful. Let's go ahead and hear Abe's log for the mission briefing.
I have no doubt that if Division 0 says ghosts, we'll find something that looks and feels like a ghost. We've seen too much to start doubting the eggheads now. Of course, these ghosts seem to enjoy exploding people, so that part at least is new. Henry and I are just using the term from the report, Kindergeists, in front of the team. No point in letting them get worked up about whether or not our bullets are gonna pass right through these things. I can worry enough about that for everyone.
So you can see here it says mission goal, investigate the disturbance in the catacombs. So that's what we need to do. That's what our goal is. We can see here how we need to set up the map. You've already seen that, hopefully in the intro. It talks about what we need in the spawn pool. So we're going to use the enemies called the Fetch. So there's enemy sets. The Fetch has then 3 enemies. We've got the Bone Fetch, the Skin Fetch, and the Harvester. That is the Minion, the Elite, and the Boss. And you're going to see each mission or operation will have a specific enemy set that you're going to use. We see here the reserve pool is none, so we don't have any enemies in the reserve pool. We have no requirement of having a specific hero type, although I'm always playing with 4, so it doesn't matter. I'm playing with all the 4 roles. The twist deck, which I'll show you shortly when we set up the twist or the threat track, we're going to use the Fetch for that. We have during setup, each player receives 1 focus card for this mission. We already picked those. Our mission objectives, we need to find the infiltrate the catacombs and eliminate the potential threats. So that's these 2 objective cards, which we'll look at in a second. And then for our recon deck, because there are a total of 12 spawn points that we're placing on the board, we will have 2 of them are specific discovery cards, and the rest of them are 10 random events. So we've grabbed the Portal Wall Discovery and the Doctor's Coat Discovery. I have both of them here, and you can see they say Discovery on there. I don't want you to read them, because I want you to see what happens when they come out during the play of the game. Here we have our 2 objectives. So our first one is infiltrate the catacombs, and I'm not going to read it right now. I'll read it when we actually complete that objective. But the one that we do need to know about is this eliminate potential threats. It essentially says they're everywhere. Pyramids of bones lashed together with strips of dead skin and burning with pale red fire. On top of each one is an intricately carved human skull that turns to face you as if it were alive. These have to go, all of them. Heroes must discard a card before searching a spawn point. Search all spawn points to complete this objective. And you're going to see down here and down here, when we complete these objectives, if the coin is flipped to the tail side, we can flip it back to the head side. So this one's stating that we have to search all 12 spawn points on the board. This one, we don't know how we're going to get those 2 specific intel tokens on the objective here, but my guess is that they have to do with the discovery cards. When we find those 2 discovery cards and complete whatever it is, we will then be able to flip the coin to the head side as well. To set up our recon deck, which needs a total of 12 cards, I have the 2 that are specific discovery cards for this scenario. Then I have the regular event cards and then gear recon event cards. Now, in the game, it states to just shuffle all these together and randomly pick 10. I don't like doing that. I like having a little more variety, so to speak. So what I always do is I keep my gear separate from my regular recon cards, and I'll choose 5 random gear cards and 5 random event cards. The gear cards come from the African expansion, and I will say a lot of them aren't actually even good, which some people didn't like, but I think it makes thematic sense, and so that's why I enjoy it, because a lot of times it's like, oh, hey, you found this mirror, but it's actually hurting you, and you have to do something to get rid of it. So don't think that I'm trying to make the game easier by putting in the gear. I mean, sometimes it will help, but more than not, the gear actually hurts you. But I just think it provides more variety by doing 5 event, 5 gear, and then the 2 here will make the total of 12 recon cards. We've seen that we're playing just with the bone fetches, so I want to show you their card. So they actually only have 1 health. They do have resistance for different types of damage. So if you're doing any sort of bomb damage, you have to get 2 successes to take them off the board. If you're doing bullet damage, same thing. If you're trying to punch them in the face, it's actually going to take you 3 damage to eliminate them from the board. Minions and enemies do not hold damage over. When you have to do the full amount of damage to get rid of them, or you do nothing to them. When the bone fetches activate, they will move 2 spaces towards the closest hero. If ever there's ties for heroes, whoever's closest in turn order will be the one that they'll go towards. They attack for only 1 die, but it's a bomb die. So what that means is if there are 4 people in the same location and they roll a die and get 3 bomb icons, they actually do 3 damage to everyone in that location. So the bone fetches make you work a little bit differently than maybe the other 2 scenarios that's in the base or the core set, because those you usually like to clump together, because then you can determine, oh, I can jump in front of this person and take damage. Well, here you can't, because the damage is area damage, and so it hits everyone. And I will say that enemies are not affected by their own bomb damage, but if we do bomb damage in our own location, we are affected. They have 2 pretty terrible abilities here. The first one is, whenever you activate one of these enemies, you're going to roll a green die. If they roll this symbol, it says instead of attacking each hero in that location, that's in the bone fetches location, it takes 1 unblockable damage. In this game, your health is the cards in your hand, so you'll have to discard one of the cards in your hand. If ever you've discarded all the cards in your hand and you take another point of damage, you're considered down. Finally, reassemble is terrible as well. If this monster is killed during the hero phase, immediately respawn it on a random spawn point. So we can never really get rid of them. They're going to always be out on the board. We can get rid of them, from what I understand, through the tactics phase. If during the tactics phase we can kill some, they'll at least be gone for a round, but then they'll still come back on the board. So yeah, they're always around, always ready to hurt us. Here we have our threat track board. What we do here is at the end of each hero phase, we're going to move the threat track up 1 space. Every time we hit one of these spots, we're going to reveal our first, second, third, or fourth twist card. These twist cards, just as an example, I'll show you. This one has all monsters inflict a minimum of 1 damage when they attack. This damage may still be reduced or negated. So they're going to do additional things, make them harder to defeat, or maybe they'll hit us harder. We don't know. With the Kickstarter and all of the expansions, I have 12 twist cards for each enemy type. So for these fetches, I have a total of 12, and I only ever put 4 out. So that's fun because you never really know what their abilities are going to be. So I'm just randomly choosing ones to place out here. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Finally, I just wanted to show you the 2 different types of cards that you're going to see us playing during the game. Here we have a regular card that has an attack ability up top called the center mass, or that down here we have a reaction ability. Every card can be used 2 different ways. Technically 3, because it's also your health. So up here it denotes your range for your attack and the type of the attack. So this would be a range 0, doing bullets, I get to roll 3 dice. Down here, this is a reaction. I can do it within range 1 for an ally, and it says play when an ally performs an attack action. They retain that card instead of discarding it. Oh, cool. So that keeps their health, and if they're using a strong attack, that card they keep in their hand, they can use it later. We also have tactics cards. These are super powerful abilities. You can play that during the tactics phase. The only catch is then you don't draw up to the 5 cards. And you're going to see how that works during the playthrough. You can also, though, still use it for an attack, and it's usually a really good attack. Look at that. I'm rolling 6 dice. The max amount you can ever roll in this game is 8. But yeah, 6 dice is a lot. And then if you have this and use it as a tacticals card, it states that each hero may immediately move 2 spaces starting with the player to your left. So it can really help people get in the right spot to do more searching. You can run away from monsters. Anyways, it's really cool. Those tactics cards are super powerful. And in this scenario specifically, because these bone fetches will respawn during the hero phase, that tactics phase, doing certain things, killing enemies there, they won't respawn, at least from how I understand it. Let's go ahead and draw up 5 cards for each player. Perfect. We each have our set of 5 cards. I'm going to go ahead and start with our first player being our leader. And just so you know, you always have to play in the same order. So I'm going to go leader to demolition to marksman to the combat specialist. So that would be Moxie, Sunny, two Penny, and Rat. And then this will move around each round for who starts. We have a total of 8 enemies in the spawn pool. So what we need to do on the board is randomly spawn them, all of them on the board. So I'll roll this up, and let's see. Okay, I got a 2. So that means I'll have to place one of those bone fetches in spot 2. There we go. We've got our enemies spawned on the board. We've got a couple guys right here on our behind as we all start here. Now, what I don't think I specifically called out when I was looking at the mission itself, we start here. In order to win the game, we have to complete those objectives and get to the exit point, which is here. So basically, we have to go all the way around the catacombs, one way or the other, and then come back to here. As long as we are all here at any point during the game, we win the game after we've completed our objectives, which includes searching all these locations. Well, there you have it. That is the setup. I hope you guys are excited. I can't wait to play this game. It's a lot of fun. It's nice and quick. They did a great job of making the rules simple, fast, straightforward. You can jump right into the action. Let's do it.